The Ku family had always had a thin bloodline, 18 generations of single heir lineage. My father adopted 3 girls and made it clear that whoever bore his grandchild would inherit the entire family fortune. Everyone said the child born from one of the 3 candidates my father had chosen for me would be the true heir. Yet not one of them had ever looked me in the eye. I had loved Chloe for years, only to be met with nothing but her countless looks of contempt. I thought she was just naturally cold, treating all men the same until I saw her leaning into the driver's son, Alex. Swearing with heartfelt sincerity, I agreed to marry her only to repay the Ku family's kindness in raising me. Once I give birth to the Ku heir, I'll get a divorce and marry you. As long as Louis doesn't hurt you, I'm willing to give him a few million to enjoy life abroad. You're the only real husband in my heart. The day before the board meeting, my father asked me who I would choose. I thought of the way the 3 girls always avoided my gaze and smiled as I replied. I'm the Ku family heir. Of course, my marriage should maximize benefit. Let's go with Laura from City A. My father frowned. Laura was paralyzed in a car accident 5 years ago. She's not only disabled, but also infertile. Are you sure? Chapter 1. I spoke gently but firmly in our social class. True love doesn't exist since it's all about interest. Of course I should choose the Mu family, the one with the most to offer. My father's expression darkened. That's true, but out of the 3 I picked for you, you're not fond of any of them. My father had deeply loved my mother, but she died of a sudden brain hemorrhage the year I was born. He never recovered enough to remarry, knowing I was never passionate about love either. He feared the Ku bloodline would end with me. Following the advice of an old friend, he adopted 3 orphan girls with no family background. He even had a will drawn up early on. No matter which of the 3 I chose, she would be entitled to run the company alongside me, helping suppress the other board members. I looked at him and said, though Laura Mu is paralyzed and infertile, she can still have children via egg retrieval and IVF. She's the only heir of the Mu family. Rather than relying on orphans to help the Ku family, wouldn't it be wiser to choose a powerful ally? My father nodded. If they couldn't win your heart, there's no reason for them to stay in the Ku family. If I'd simply said it was because Chloe didn't love me and I didn't want to force her, my father would have had Chloe kneel in front of me questioning what right an adopted girl had to refuse. I didn't want my father to weaponize years of kindness to cause Chloe. I didn't want to force her into marrying me, and I certainly didn't want to become a resentful couple with her. What's more, after hearing what Chloe said, my heart had gone completely cold. Letting go peacefully was already the greatest kindness I could offer. As I left the office, my father cast a sidelong glance at Chloe. After politely seeing my father off, Chloe turned to me, frowning. What did you snitch about this time? Her eyes were full of disgust and impatience, as if I'd committed some unforgivable sin. Before I could respond, Zoe sneered. Isn't it just about what we said that we're not chasing after him like some pathetic simps? Monica followed with visible contempt. Seriously, young Master Ku, this isn't the damn feudal era. You think having a bit of money makes you some emperor with everyone orbiting around you? The 3 of them united like comrades, using sharp words to stab at me. I was genuinely confused. None of you want to marry me. Why didn't any of you ever tell my father? Though my father had hoped I'd develop feelings and eventually marry one of them, he never intended to force it. If any of them had said a single no, he would have immediately set aside money to send them abroad to live freely. In the end, they simply couldn't let go of the Ku family fortune. Monica, the most hot-tempered of the 3, clicked her tongue impatiently. Oh, please. You make it sound so simple. You know damn well we're living under someone else's roof. We're just Ku family's pets. What right do we have to refuse? Chloe looked at me with a complicated expression. If you want to choose me, then go ahead. I just hope you won't make things hard for the other 2 in the future. Monica and Zoe were visibly moved by her words. Watching Chloe's self-sacrificing expression, I felt a bitter chill in my chest. Before I could say anything, Alex suddenly appeared. The moment he saw me, he acted as if he'd been startled, instinctively hiding behind Chloe. Chapter 2. He was a grown man, and yet he needed a woman to protect him. Chloe instinctively stepped in front of Alex. He didn't do anything wrong. Just let him go today. Okay. I looked at them, confused, only to realize that the three women who were supposed to be on my side were all standing in front of Alex, as if afraid I'd bully him. They saw themselves as strong, independent women and didn't like my confident, outspoken personality. Instead, they favored Alex, who was inferior to me in every aspect. 5 years ago, when Alex first arrived at the Ku residence, he gave me a watch. I returned the favor with a suit worth 100,000 yuan as a welcoming gift, but the moment I put on the watch, Chloe snatched it from me. She snapped. Even your mother's heirloom. You want to take that from him too? I looked at Alex, puzzled, hoping he would explain that he had given it to me willingly. But Alex suddenly dropped to his knees with a pitiful look. Young master didn't take it from me. I gave it to him myself. Young master has been very kind to me. He even gave me a whole suit. I truly don't feel wronged. He kowtowed toward me again and again. The scene made the three women emotional, reminded of their own precarious positions in the Ku household. They started questioning me indignantly. So what if you're the eldest young master of the Ku family? That doesn't give you the right to force someone to hand over their mother's keepsake, does it? The watch might not be expensive, but its meaning is worth more than a 10,000 yuan suit. You should return it to Alex right now. You're always so overbearing. Doing whatever makes you happy with no regard for others. My face darkened immediately, but I thought it might be a misunderstanding. One I could clear up later. Suppressing my anger, I handed the watch back to Alex, but he failed to take it properly. The watch crashed to the ground and broke. He stared at me wide-eyed and shouted, "Since young master would rather destroy it than give it back, why pretend?" Chloe had always hated seeing the poor get bullied. She immediately threatened coldly, "Apologize to Alex now, or I'll call off the engagement." At the time, I had already confessed to Chloe and told her I'd marry no one but her. She used that as leverage, forcing me to bow my head to Alex. Back then, I was still young and didn't dare risk losing the woman I loved, so I apologized through red eyes without defending myself. But that apology lasted for 5 whole years. Ever since then, whenever Alex saw me, he acted like a mouse seeing a cat, either suddenly dropping to his knees or bursting into tears. But I hadn't done anything. I looked coldly at Chloe. "If you're so scared, I'll bully Alex. Why don't you tie him to your belt and keep him there all day?" My words were obviously sarcastic, yet Chloe furrowed her brows and said, "Are you threatening me? What are you planning to do to Alex?" Monica clapped her hands and pointed at me. "Don't tell me you're just mad we gave Star Ocean Abyss to Alex and now you're using that as an excuse to bully him." Zoe looked at me with icy eyes. "You already have everything. Alex has never even had a proper birthday party. It's just a Star Ocean Abyss. Do you really need to make a fuss over it?" My gaze turned sharp. Star Ocean Abyss. Star Ocean Abyss was an underground aquarium that had been under construction since the day I was born. On its southeast side was a rare piece of imperial jade under the shimmer of the seawater. It refracted a galaxy-like brilliance. It was set to be completed 6 months ago, and my father had entrusted Chloe with the final stage, intending for her to present Star Ocean Abyss to me at my birthday banquet a month later. But now the gift that rightfully belonged to me had been given to Alex. I turned my gaze to Chloe. She was in charge of the project. Without her approval, no one would have been able to access the still unopened aquarium. Under my stare, Chloe grew visibly uneasy and turned away. Annoyed. Alex grew up in the countryside, too busy working to ever really see the stars. I just wanted to fulfill a small wish of his. Besides, the aquarium still legally belongs to you, doesn't it? Stop being unreasonable. Fine. At your birthday banquet next month, I'll publicly announce our engagement. Will that make you happy? Seeing Chloe act like she was doing me a favor, I almost wondered if I were the one who had been adopted. But no one else in the room found anything wrong. Instead, they all felt sorry for Chloe. Why sacrifice so much for him? Louis is arrogant, domineering, and cruel. You'd be better off becoming a nun than marrying him. He's probably so happy right now he can't even think straight. Finally got what he's always wanted. Chloe, please don't ruin your life for me. If it helps, I'll kneel and kowtow to young Master Ku. Be his servant. Do anything. My throat felt dry. I managed to say just one sentence. I will not marry you. Chapter 3. Chloe raised her brows in surprise, clearly suspicious. Monica and Zoe exchanged nervous glances, as if afraid I'd say I wanted to marry one of them. Being rejected like this by the 3 women who grew up with me, I feared that if I didn't leave soon, I might end up doing something I'd regret. I turned to walk away, only to have Alex yank my wrist. His eyes were red, and once again he dropped to his knees with a humiliated expression. Please don't make things difficult for Chloe. All 3 of them were adopted by the Koo family. They've always been lower in status. If you're angry that they gave me Star Ocean Abyss and plan to complain to Uncle Koo, I'm willing to apologize with my forehead. He began slamming his head on the floor. Bang, bang, bang. Until his forehead turned red and started to bleed. Chloe, heart aching, hurriedly pulled him up from the ground and turned to glare at me. You say you won't marry me? Then don't choose me. What's the point of using reverse psychology just to bully Alex? Isn't this just your way of getting back at him and forcing him out of the Koo household? I stared at Chloe coldly. I don't know what you're talking about, but rest assured I will never choose you to be my wife. I thought that would end things, but to my surprise, Chloe grabbed my arm. If not me, then who? Zoe. Monica. Monica wants to study art abroad, and Zoe longs for freedom. Hurting me isn't enough for you. You want to ruin their lives, too. Chloe took a deep breath. If you promise not to make things hard for Alex again, I'll marry you. Just stop this already, okay? Her eyes were filled with exhaustion, like I'd been tormenting her for years. I looked at Chloe deeply and said everything will go exactly as you wish. She feared I would bully Alex. She didn't want to marry me either. Once I married Laura, all her worries would disappear. During that time, I didn't go see Chloe again. It wasn't until the day of my birthday banquet that she finally showed up, her face cold. Zoe and Monica followed behind her, their expressions also grim. I frowned at my assistant. I'd made it very clear that today's engagement announcement wasn't about them. There was no need to invite them at all. But the assistant frantically shook his head, clearly saying they came on their own. I had no idea. I sighed, resigned, deciding to pretend I hadn't seen anything. The guests below were even more enthusiastic than I was, greeting the 3 of them one after another. Miss Chloe, you're truly a rising star. That project you closed last month must have brought in at least $1 million. No wonder young Master Koo only has eyes for you. But it was I who had negotiated that deal. Chloe merely signed the final documents. Monica may be hot-tempered, but she has a strong sense of justice. Young Master Koo would never suffer marrying you. I scoffed silently. Monica had bullied me more than anyone. She saw me as pure evil, probably wishing she could burn me alive. Miss Zoe is also quite the beauty. Young Master Koo couldn't go wrong choosing you either. Please take good care of him in the future. The 3 of them, at my birthday banquet, acted like hosts basking in the spotlight. I frowned, ready to put an end to the farce, when all 3 suddenly lowered their heads and took out their phones. Before I could react, Monica's face turned pale. She rushed up to me and slapped me across the face. My head spun from the impact and I nearly collapsed to the ground. Everyone was stunned by the scene and quickly backed away. Afraid to get involved, Chloe clenched her fists tightly and held back Monica, who was still itching to hit me again. Then she turned and looked at me with fury in her eyes. We already came here like items on a shelf for you to pick from. What more do you want? Do you have to push Alex to his death too? I was completely lost. Seeing my confusion, Zoe's disdain deepened. You waited until none of us were around and dared to have Alex kidnapped. I'm telling you now, it won't work. As soon as she said that, I immediately realized Alex had pulled another trick. All the guests present were either my father's friends or our business partners. Yet even after I was slapped in front of them, not one person stepped in. My heart went cold. They must have already decided that the Koo family fortune wouldn't end up in my hands, so they didn't dare offend those 3 women. Covering my stinging face, I stared at Monica with icy eyes. Apologize. Monica glanced at my reddened eyes with a sneer and said Alex was nearly beaten half to death. And you're upset over a single slap. I'm fine. Just then, Alex limped into the room, his clothes torn and face bruised, covered in cuts and swelling. One look and anyone would suspect something terrible had happened. Quick as lightning, Chloe took off her coat and draped it over Alex's shoulders. Then she turned to glare at me with disgust. "You're as scheming as ever. I'll never marry a man like you." Zoe, who was usually quiet, stepped in front of Alex with a frosty expression. "Your family has a weak bloodline, so you brought us back just to be breeders, to have children and carry on the coup name. We already accepted our fate, but you're still not satisfied. If that's the case, then there's no point pretending things are peaceful anymore." She turned and left without even sparing a glance at the coup family's dignity. Before walking out, Chloe threw one last haughty line over her shoulder. "I'll marry you, but once the child is born, you'll be nothing more than a decorative piece. If you want my child to protect the coup family's legacy, you better behave." I chuckled. Had they forgotten? Without me, the coup family would never have adopted them in the first place. Just as the three were about to leave, someone finally tried to stop them. But I shouted, face cold with fury. "Let them go." Alex shot me a sidelong glance, full of smug defiance, as if he'd just conquered the world. I stood there in silence, saying nothing, until my assistant rushed over, clearly panicked. "What should we do now? All three of them have left. Who will you choose?" Other guests began to frown as well. The coup family's bloodline is thin. Sooner or later, he'll have to marry and have children to carry on the inheritance. If even the three women who know him best won't take him, who else can? I nearly laughed out loud. There are millions of women in the world who said I have to marry one of those three. With a smile, I raised my wine glass and toasted the room. Ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, today is not only my birthday, it is also my engagement party. On the giant projector screen appeared the image of a cold but stunningly beautiful face. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Isn't that Laura Moo from the Moo family in City? My father had just wrapped up a deal worth over 100 million and stepped in with a beaming smile. That's right. As my son's bride, only the most outstanding woman is worthy of him. As for those three girls, I only adopted them because they were pitiful orphans with no parents. The idea of choosing one of them to marry my son. Utter nonsense. Even with my father speaking so plainly, the guests in attendance still wore skeptical expressions. A few older men, longtime friends of my father, tried to persuade him. Laura from City A is undeniably capable, but that accident years ago? Exactly. Everyone knows Laura is now infertile and paralyzed. If your son marries her, she won't even be able to bear children. Who'll inherit the family fortune in the future? Sure, we don't think the children those other three might have could definitely shoulder the coup family legacy, but at least pick someone who can have kids. They called Laura a noble heiress when being polite, but in harsher terms. She was just a disabled woman. Everyone knew her wealth would eventually be handed over to someone else. So why couldn't that someone else be me? From the moment Chloe said what she did, I realized that even as the coup family's only heir, no one truly believed the family's fortune would land in my hands. So I thought, why not choose a woman who was both powerful and incapable of taking the coup family away from me? Chloe was busy comforting the still shaken Alex when she caught a glimpse of a message on her phone, her expression darkening immediately. "Come back now. Louis just announced his fiancée. You'll regret it if you don't." Monica and Zoe received similar texts sent by mutual friends. Chloe instinctively moved to turn off her phone, wanting to ignore it, but the question nagged her. Why would they say she'd regret it? Could it be? Louis chose Monica. Poor Zoe. Chloe stared at the other two for a long while before finally typing out a message. Who did Louis choose? When the reply came with a photo attached, Chloe's pupils shrank in shock. Her face went pale with disbelief. At the same time, Monica and Zoe both gasped, "No way. Louis picked that infertile, paralyzed cripple. Impossible." Alex, still leaning on Chloe's shoulder, had a flicker of triumph in his eyes, though he spoke with fake concern. "Maybe young master is just angry. You all left his birthday banquet for me. He must have been upset. Why don't you go back? I'll be fine on my own." Tears welled up in his eyes as he spoke. The three women immediately softened. Straightforward as ever, Monica declared. It's not like Lewis hasn't pulled stunts before. I want to see if he really goes through with marrying the cripple. Just wait. He'll be the one begging us to marry him. Chloe felt a bit more reassured at that. That's right, Louise had chased after her for years, unwavering no matter how many times she rejected him. Missing just one birthday party wouldn't suddenly make him turn around and marry someone who couldn't have children. Alex's eyes stayed fixed on Chloe. Seeing her remain silent, a hint of jealousy flashed across his gaze. He said miserably, "I must be the one in young master's way. Even if he had me beaten and crippled, I still shouldn't have barged into his party and ruined it. What if he tells Uncle Koo and cuts off all your living expenses? I don't want to drag you down." The three women's expressions darkened at once. What they hated most was being reminded they were living under someone else's roof. Monica said coldly, "I've got 2 working hands and feet. Even if I lose the allowance, I'll survive." Chloe gently stroked Alex's hand to reassure him. "Don't worry, Lewis can't manage such a big empire alone. He can't even produce an heir. Sooner or later, he'll have to beg the 3 of us to come back and help run the company. Don't talk about dragging us down. Lewis is the one at fault. If he hadn't had such malicious intentions toward you, today wouldn't have turned into such a disaster for him. They thought I'd simply lost face today, never considering the long-term consequences." Growing restless, Chloe finally picked up her phone and sent me a message. "You went too far today. There's no need to throw a tantrum and marry a cripple who can't have children. As long as you apologize to Alex, I'll marry you." In her mind, she pictured the joy on my face when I read the message. But the moment she saw the red exclamation mark, her smile froze. I hadn't just deleted her. I had blocked her. In the second half of the birthday banquet, dozens of helicopters flew overhead, raining down millions worth of pink roses from the sky amid the sea of flowers. The elegant and icy-faced Laura was gently wheeled out of a helicopter. She began walking toward me down a red carpet, her eyes brimming with warmth. My father's eyes widened in shock. How? How is she here? Chapter 5. The other guests were equally confused. Though they still viewed Laura as nothing more than a paralyzed and infertile woman, they couldn't deny who she was. The only heiress of the Moo family in City a true socialite, the real-deal daughter of a noble house. If it hadn't been for the Moo family's insistence on marrying into a family of equal status, Laura would have already married countless times over the years. After all, the Moo family was old money through and through. Prestigious, powerful, and deeply rooted, the Koo family, in comparison, had only risen in the last few decades. Though wealthy, it lacked heritage. Everyone thought that if I married Laura, I'd merely be a figurehead. No one believed the Moo family would truly value this engagement. As the crowd murmured and speculated, Laura smiled and said, "How could the leading lady be absent from her own engagement party? I'm not too late, am I?" She held out a bouquet of air-shipped Bulgarian roses and presented them to me. She stood like that, holding the bouquet until I took it. I didn't leave her hanging. I smiled and accepted the roses. "You arrived just in time." The frost that had long been etched between her brows suddenly melted. For the first time, she showed warmth toward everyone. This affectionate gesture shocked the crowd. Before her accident, Laura was known for being a cold beauty. After the accident, she became even more aloof, so much so she didn't hesitate to throw even her own father out of the house. Just as I clasped Laura's right hand, Chloe reappeared at the entrance with a cold expression. Her return caused quite a stir among the guests. Is Chloe having second thoughts? She probably just lost her temper earlier and came back after calming down. Chloe and young Master Koo practically grew up together. If she shows just a little softness, he'll probably call off the Moo engagement in no time. Before I could say a word, Laura's grip on my hand tightened. Her expression remained calm, but there was a storm hidden in her eyes. The moment Chloe met Laura's gaze, she sensed danger. Still, she braced herself and said, "Forgive him. Young Master Koo has always been willful. If he said anything that caused a misunderstanding, I hope you won't take it to heart." She reached out toward me, silently signaling me to stop acting out. Laura's face turned instantly cold. "Who are you?" For years, Chloe had often represented the Koo family at public events. As someone active in the business world, there was no way Laura didn't know who Chloe was. Everyone understood Laura was deliberately putting Chloe in her place. Chloe opened her mouth, ready to declare she was my fiancé. But when her gaze fell on our joined hands, she froze. She remembered she was merely an adopted daughter of the Koo family. Nothing more. Laura's tone turned mocking. If you're speaking to me as an adopted daughter of the Koo family, I'm afraid you're not qualified. Chloe's face went pale, but she stubbornly turned to me and asked, Louis, are you really going to throw away your marriage over a fit of anger? Her fists clenched so tightly her knuckles turned white. After so many years with her, how could I not see she was panicking? But why? Because I was marrying Laura. Or because she was afraid the Koo family fortune would no longer be within reach. I looked at her with a faint smile. Laura and I are in love. What anger are you talking about? The engagement has long been set. Are you here to crash the wedding? I deliberately used the phrase crash the wedding and Chloe instantly retorted. Why would I crash the wedding? She turned livid, gritting her teeth. I just can't stand by while you toy with the Moo family's reputation. If you regret this later, the entire Koo family will suffer for it. At that, I couldn't help but laugh aloud. You don't need to worry about that. After all, your surname is Lee. When all three girls were adopted, Chloe Lee had insisted on keeping her own surname. She didn't want to take ours. My father hadn't forced them, so he simply let them be. Only now did Chloe finally look at my face properly. The eyes that once overflowed with warmth were now full of cold frost, as if I wanted nothing more than to cast her out then and there. Seeing me draw such a firm line, Laura's heart warmed. She tightened her grip on my hand again, as if afraid to lose me. Chloe's throat was dry. After a moment's hesitation, she asked again. You're really going to marry Laura? Chloe, who gave you the right to keep pestering Louise? My father's authoritative voice rang out behind her. He strode over to stand beside me. His eyes locked sharply onto Chloe. Chloe's back hunched slightly. She no longer had the courage to speak. I'm sorry. Before my father, she always felt inherently inferior because she had been adopted, taken in, and given charity. Chapter 6. I looked at Chloe's familiar expression, but unlike before, I no longer tried to comfort her. In the past, I would have patiently reassured her again and again that my father only treated her strictly because he valued her, that in the Koo family she was never lesser than anyone else, that one day she would control more shares than I would, that her child would inherit everything but all the fine clothes. Luxury and protection my father and I gave her still couldn't compare to a single ambiguous comment from Alex. All it took was Alex pitifully saying we're both just outsiders here, Chloe. I understand how hard it's been for you, and Chloe would immediately turn resentful toward the Koo family. Her gaze drifted between Laura and me before she finally smiled, lips tight, and said to my father. I was being inconsiderate. Today is Louis's birthday and his engagement party. I haven't even had the chance to give my blessing yet. She lifted her glass, looking at me with hopeful eyes. But before I could react, Laura reached out and blocked the toast. Louis doesn't like to drink. I'll take this one for him. She raised the glass and downed it in one go, a light blush blooming on her beautiful face. Chloe's face went even paler at Laura's casual declaration of ownership. Suddenly, she remembered all the times I had shielded her at the drinking table. Regret, belated and overwhelming, rushed to her heart. Eyes rimmed red. Chloe gave a bitter smile, took 2 steps back and turned to leave. After the banquet ended, Laura tilted her head and looked at me. Is my fiancé not taking me home tonight? I blinked. What? Laura stared at me for a long time before speaking again, her tone slightly downcast. You don't want to take me home. I know I'm just a cripple. It's normal if you find me repulsive. What she said completely clashed with the persona I had heard about. Still, I instinctively tried to comfort her. No, I don't mind. It's my oversight. You came all the way from city, I should have arranged your stay. Laura's assistant rolled her eyes and turned away. Clearly fed up with her boss's scheming act, Laura tugged at my sleeve, her voice soft and expectant. You really don't mind that I'm disabled? My gaze fell on her legs, I nodded. Then my eyes involuntarily drifted upward. So pale, what are you looking at? My face flushed instantly, and I quickly looked away. I didn't mean to. It doesn't bother me either way. We can always do IVF. Laura gently squeezed my hand. But why do IVF? I stammered, not knowing how to answer. Laura sighed. My eyes widened as I stared at her in disbelief. Was she saying she could? Laura gripped the armrests of her wheelchair and slowly stood up. Even standing, she only came up to my chest. Cautiously, she stepped into my arms. I just injured my legs in the accident. I've nearly recovered in the past 2 years. I only use the chair because I don't feel like walking. Everything else is just a rumor. I immediately felt a little embarrassed, but I also realized when she said she didn't feel like walking, that was just an excuse. After all, being labeled as crippled naturally made people let down their guard. The thought sent a chill down my spine. If Laura had designs on the Koo family, wasn't I walking straight into a trap? Her methods? No one could deny how dangerous they were, as cold sweat broke out on my back. Laura tilted her head innocently. You cold? If so, let's go home. I nodded stiffly, my mind racing. Laura smiled sweetly and clasped a crystal bead bracelet around my wrist. When I saw the bracelet, a realization hit me. I asked reflexively. You were the one who saved me back then. At 17, I'd been kidnapped by one of my father's enemies. There had been another girl abducted with me. My legs were broken. I couldn't run. It was she who hid me inside a discarded paint drum. Later, Chloe was the one who found me. And from that moment, I developed a sense of gratitude toward her. That feeling slowly turned into affection. But now that I thought about it, Chloe hadn't saved me. She just happened to open the lid of the drum. The police, my father, and others were all there too. But in my eyes, it had only been her. Laura tapped her fingers, visibly displeased. Yeah, you promised to remember me forever. Then the next month, your whole family vanished from City A. You didn't even leave me a phone number. At the time, my father was terrified I'd be kidnapped again, so he moved us out of the city for good. I lowered my head, guilt washing over me. Laura leaned in again, curling into my chest. Forget it. It wasn't your fault. It's Chloe's. She's just too calculating. I smiled and hummed in agreement, completely unaware that Chloe was hiding in a corner, watching everything. Chapter 7. Her face was pale as ash, her mind consumed by the image of Laura and me embracing. The way we looked into each other's eyes and smiled, it made Chloe so jealous she was about to lose her mind, even if she never wanted to admit it. Chloe did have feelings for me. She relished my affection but hated being labeled an adopted daughter. So she always looked down on me, rejecting me again and again, crushing my dignity every time. Chloe looked at me bitterly but didn't dare approach. Only when Laura and I held hands and walked upstairs did she finally move. Monica called her in a panic. Where did you go? Alex is missing again. He took a call from Lewis and disappeared. Lewis must have forced him to leave us. Chloe frowned. He got a call from Lewis. She'd been standing here the entire time. She hadn't seen me so much as touch my phone, Monica huffed. Who else could it be? Alex said it himself. Lewis called him. Come help us look for him. If we wait any longer, Alex might be in danger again. Chloe responded coldly. Just call the police for the first time. She didn't rush to find Alex. Instead, her mind began reviewing everything that had happened over the years. A terrifying suspicion began to take shape. In silence, she dialed the police and then went to check the villa's surveillance footage herself. She reviewed every timestamp where Alex had accused me of bullying him, only to find the complete opposite in every clip. The more she watched, the colder her heart grew. Suddenly, she clenched her fist and punched herself in the face. All these years Alex had lived in the Koo home. All he ever had to do was claim Lewis believed me, and the three of them would force me to apologize, never questioning him once. But now the truth was right in front of her. He had jumped into the pool himself. He had broken his leg on purpose. He had torn his clothes deliberately. He had thrown himself down the stairs. Lie after lie unraveled right before her eyes. Chloe said nothing. She turned and left the security room. She had lost the courage to face me ever again. The next time I saw Chloe was on the day of my wedding to Laura, sitting in the car headed to the ceremony. I caught a glimpse of several figures out the window. The three of them were no longer as glamorous as before, but still cold and proud. Alex was clutching Chloe's hand, begging her for something. When she ignored him, he turned to Zoe, but Zoe didn't even look at him. Even Monica, who had once liked him the most, shoved him away in disgust. A flicker of resentment passed through Alex's eyes. He tried playing the pitiful act again, but none of them gave in. I didn't recognize them at first until Chloe stared blankly in my direction. Our eyes met for a moment, and then I knew it was them. I calmly looked away and never glanced back. After the engagement, my father gave the three of them a sum of money, but they voluntarily turned it down, insisting they would repay him for years of raising them. I just laughed. Over the years, the three of them had cost the Koo family tens of millions. Now that they'd left the Koo household, how exactly did they plan to pay that back? When the fireworks show, worth tens of millions, came to an end, Laura took my hand and walked down the red carpet with me. Blessings and congratulations filled the air. Someone handed me an unsigned letter. The handwriting was familiar. Immediately, I knew who had written it, expressionless. I threw the letter to the ground and let it be trampled. Laura kept smiling at me the whole time. As the ceremony ended, she placed a document in front of me. I willingly transfer all my assets to my husband. No regrets, no reservations. The crowd erupted. Even I stared at her in disbelief, but Laura just smiled gently. "Will you marry me?" I was so stunned I couldn't speak. In the end, Laura took my hand and signed my name on the papers. She said, "I swear I will never hold anything back from the man I vowed to spend my life with." Everyone knew Laura meant every word. After our wedding, Laura committed herself to physical therapy. Within a short time, her legs were fully recovered, indistinguishable from anyone else's. I told her we could wait a few years before having children. But she broke through all my defenses and proved with action that we didn't need IVF at all. In 3 years, we had 2 children, 1 boy, 1 girl, breaking the Koo family's 18-generation curse of single-heir succession. My father later told me that Chloe and the other 2 had failed in business overseas, losing a huge sum of money and disappearing. Alex had been hit by a car and lost the use of his legs with no money for treatment. He moved back to the countryside and became a live-in husband to a fierce wife. Now he got beaten every day and barely had enough to eat, even while struggling to survive abroad. The 3 of them, Chloe included, still remembered to send me birthday gifts. I could tell they put thought into it, but my expression remained indifferent, completely unmoved. But my expression always remained cold, utterly unmoved. It wasn't until I saw Laura walking toward me with our children in tow that I finally let go of all that emotional garbage. Only then did I smile because they were my happiness now.